Hello, I'm Bret and you're watching the defining moment for creating the culture of conscience. Our guest today is Pastor Nicolas Benson of First Summit Evangelical Church in Pasadena, California, where he's been the pastor for the last 6 years. Dr. Benson was born in Zimbabwe and has been living in Pasadena for the last 34 years. He has a Master's of Divinity degree from Fuller Theological Seminary and a PhD from the University of Southern California, USC School of Ethics and Religion. Pastor Benson, it's really my pleasure to welcome you here to the Defining Moment. Thanks for being our guest.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to have you. Our topic today will be rehabilitation and re-socialization. And I'd like to begin by asking you to share with our viewers a defining moment that you had in your life where you gained a new perspective or took a new direction in your life.
Yes, that's a very exciting topic, and I would like to start by saying I was born in a non-Christian family, traditional family in Africa, in Zimbabwe. As I was growing up, I grew up during the time when there was some kind of oppression that was taking place in my country at that time.
Yes.
So
and the oppression was by
the regime, the white regime.
A white regime similar to the apartheid regime in South Africa.
That's right. So because of that, I grew up with a sense of resentment and a little bit of not happy by the situation.
You were unhappy?
Yeah, very unhappy. But as the time went on, I met some missionaries. We are talking about defining moments, who somehow, when I started working with them, they introduced me to the Lord Jesus Christ. And then,
what were you doing before you met these missionaries?
Well, we were working as I was working as an instructor in adult education. So, but somehow they were Christian people, and somehow they begin to talk to me about the things of the Lord.
Now, I understand from talking to you before our program that you weren't exactly so open-minded to Christians, to religion. You had a very different viewpoint at that time in your life.
Yes, yes.
Tell us about that.
Yes, prior to that, I was part of a movement that was called ZUP, which is a political group that was trying to fight for the oppressed people in our society. So because of that, I wasn't very much in favor of Christianity.
So what kind of ideology did you have prior to meeting those Christians?
Well, the ideology was when the white people came into Africa, especially in our place, they gave us the Bible. I heard that from our elders, that they came with the Bible and gave us the Bible and took the land.
So there was an exchange. The Christian missionaries came, or Christians came, they gave you a Bible, and in exchange they took your land from you.
Especially the colonialists.
The colonialists.
Yes, they came and did that to our people.
Right.
And took the land. So because of that, I was kind of an angry man that they did that. So
for you, that was just unacceptable. It was a form of social injustice.
Yes, it was injustice. Yes, it was social injustice. So I wanted to be involved with the groups that were trying to change the system. And but they were using means that were kind of violent.
So you would say a Marxist-style group.
Yes, it definitely Marxist style. Yes. Until the time when I met the missionaries.
Tell us about that.
When I met the missionaries showed more of what we call love about things, and then they talked about God. And then when I accepted God in my life, I began to realize that there is a middle side to everything, where we can solve problems without killing each other.
A middle ground.
Middle ground. And but sometimes that middle ground was not accepted by many people because it was time for revolution in our country at that time.
So violence was the primary means
to
bring about social change.
That's right. That's right.
And tell us about the experience that you had when you accepted Jesus Christ into your life. How did that come about?
Well, it came about by them inviting me to a meeting.
Uh-huh.
One day I went to a meeting, and
How old were you at this time?
I think around 22, 20, 21, 22.
So you were a young man.
Yeah, I was young. So when I went there, so I heard this man testify how God changed his life from it what he used to be in South Africa, where he became a new creature and a new person with a new perspective. And then when I listened to him, I realized that that's what I'm looking for in my own life. Yes. So that day
So you felt that could address something that was missing in your life?
Yes. Not only in my life, I saw that that is the answer to the problems that we are facing in our country, because there was a lot of violence and hatred among the people. So I saw that this is the answer.
I see. That provided you with a vision.
Yes, it did.
And a solution, a pathway to finding solutions to the problems.
That's right.
In your country.
Yes.
And so your defining moment was...
So my defining moment is the time when I came to accept God, Jesus Christ, as my Savior at that time. And therefore, after that, everything changed. I had a new perspective, a new worldview about life. Yes.
Wow. And then, so how did you end up in the United States?
Before I say that, when you say defining moment, when I say I had a new worldview, that means I began to realize the need for loving people regardless of who they are. And then after that, God opened an opportunity for me to come to the United States. What happened was I attended a conference in Switzerland.
Yes.
Which was organized by the Billy Graham Association. It was the
Billy Graham?
Billy Graham, yes. So I went there, and when I was there, I met quite a few professors from Christian colleges here. One of the schools was Fuller Theological Seminary. So when I met these professors, I began to talk to them, and somehow they gave me some papers that they were training nationals over here. So when I went back to my country, I began to be in touch with them. And as I was doing that, somehow I didn't have money to come over. But as I began to correspond with them, they showed me that they can give me a scholarship to come over here.
I see.
And then I got some people in the country who gave me part of my scholarship to get the aeroplane to come here. So that's how I came into this country. I used to be an African first in my life, because I believe that was being the spirit of nationalism.
So your pride, the source of your pride was that you were an African.
Oh, yes.
Just like myself as an American.
That's right.
My source of pride is being an American.
Right. But not mean that I'm no longer having pride, but what I'm saying, that was number one. But as I continued to study, I began to realize that what is number one in my life is every person is a human being. Then my Africanism comes number two.
Right. So you see yourself first as being a member of the human family.
That's right.
And that gives you a common base, a common foundation to relate to all people.
All people with appreciation of differences, of different ethnic groups.
And not having to be limited by the borders which make up Africa, which are man-made borders to begin with, right?
That's right. That's right. So I'm excited about that. That changed my way of thinking. Yes.
So you're a global citizen.
I'm a global
citizen of the world.
I'm a global citizen, and I recognize the importance of me appreciating all these people who come from different backgrounds. Yes.
And that's something that you didn't have before.
No, I didn't.
Interesting. Okay, well, in the short half an hour that we have together, we want to talk about rehabilitation and re-socialization of former prison inmates. And I want to talk with you about it because you work in that area. And if you could begin by sharing with us, I think we need to say that it's not a given in our society that people believe that you can rehabilitate former prisoners. A lot of people believe it's simply not possible. It's not worth the trouble to try and rehabilitate people. Now, I know you have a very different view about that, so I'd like you to share with us what is your understanding or your concept about rehabilitation.
Well, I'm a believer in rehabilitation, simply because of the fact that that word rehabilitation really means people that can change from a certain lifestyle to a positive lifestyle.
So you see it as a lifestyle change.
Yes.
That's what's fundamental in your understanding, in your view, to rehabilitation is a lifestyle change.
Yes. Yes.
Tell us more about that.
Yes, we have a center that works with men who are coming out of prison.
Yes. Your center's in Pasadena.
Our center is in Pasadena. And so in there, we have men that have been in jail for some times of different kind of crimes.
Yes.
And these men come into our program because they want to change from a certain lifestyle back into the society.
Yes.
As you know that a lot of men that come out of prison, they are out 1 week, the next week they're back.
So it's like a revolving door for many of them.
That's right.
There's a certain temptation to commit a crime, and they find themselves back in the system.
Right.
Very often.
Right. Right. And sometimes they go back there deliberately because they have been in jail. That's all they know how to do, to live in jail.
In other words, yeah.
But if they come out, there is no support system.
Right.
And there is
they know how to live in jail.
That's right.
But how to live outside of jail is a complicated matter, right?
Yes. Because they don't have no support system anymore.
Right.
And so some of them, they find it really hard to live outside. They have no home to live in. They have no families. So all that is there. So the center is there to rehabilitate these men that are coming out, to build some kind of confidence in their life that they can go back into society and live a productive life.
Yes.
And two is in agreement with our Christian pursuit, that we try to meet people where they are and help them to be better people and better citizens.
Yes.
Of the community.
So for you, it's also a ministry.
Yes, it is a ministry.
It's an extension of your work as a pastor.
Yes, it's an extension of my ministry as a pastor.
Okay, great. I want to focus on what you do that works in offering a pathway of success for people to make a new start in their lives. So, to begin with, what is the first obstacle that a person who's been in prison faces when they are released from prison? What's the first obstacle that they face?
Well, the first obstacle is the stigma. People who have been in prison are stigmatized. That stigma sometimes is hard to overcome.
So they're stigmatized by the society that's waiting for them outside of prison.
By the society.
They're labeled as a criminal. So they're no longer the person that grew up with the identity they had. They are now a criminal.
Yes.
And so they're stigmatized by that label.
That's right. They're stigmatized by that label, and sometimes to overcome that is really difficult.
Yes.
But when people come into our center, we try to face that up and say, listen, this is the issue that you are dealing with. And it's up to you to deal with it, or it's up to you to ignore it and do nothing about it. So if they deal with it, that means they get into a program that will make them realize that they have that stigma, but they can work with that and work through it and be better people.
So it's not about imagining that there is no stigma, because there really is a stigma.
Oh, yes, it is.
So it's helping them be effective in dealing with that stigma that they face.
Taking what is negative, turning them into some kind of positive step.
I see.
For them to be better people. For instance, there are men that have been in jail who have committed some really hard crime.
Yes.
But they have been rehabilitated. Now they are very strong people in our society who are doing something positive.
So there are many examples of that, of people who have turned their lives around.
Yes.
There are countless examples.
Countless examples. So the debate really is not helpful, because there are some good examples out there.
Yeah, I'm sure. Many more than we've heard. And then what's key to supporting somebody in the process of re-socialization and being able to, in a sense, invent a new identity for themselves? What's the key to that?
The key to that is for a person to believe, to have a will to change. Willingness to say, I want to change.
Okay, so that's fundamental.
That's fundamental.
And then what do you start with once someone's willing to change? I mean, what's the first thing that you introduce, that you teach them, that you introduce them to?
Well, the first thing we do is, if you are willing to change, we need you to realize that there is a power that is above you, that can help you deal with that change. Okay. For instance, they must believe in themselves. Yeah, because when you are dealing with that person, the essence, the deep down thing in their heart is that they don't believe in themselves no more. So you have got to let them know that they must have a will to change and a belief in a superpower that can help them move from step 1 to step 2.
Right. And when you say superpower, you mean God.
Yes, we mean God.
But you don't necessarily talk about God by using his name. You might say higher power. You might say a power beyond yourself.
We do talk about high power, but what we really mean is God.
Yes.
Because after a little while, that is only to get started with the conversation.
Right.
But after a little while, we get into who can do that. There is nobody but God who can help them through their struggle.
So many people coming out of prison who haven't had a religious orientation, they don't necessarily believe that there is that kind of higher power. So you, in a sense, are introducing them to a new concept.
Yes, it is.
In many cases.
Yes, in many cases, yes. And sometimes people were raised in Christian homes or in some religious home of some kind, but they really did not. That didn't help them. But they
didn't necessarily have a strong relationship with God.
No, they didn't.
They may have learned the right concepts, but it didn't translate into their experience.
Yes, it did. It didn't. Because, for instance, I have people that know how to read the Bible, but it's all theory. So how do you bring it down to a place where they can take those concepts, those beliefs, those principles, and apply them in their life? That's when you talk about their struggle and say, in your struggle, now you can take this principle and apply it to your own life right now as a process of your transition from where you are to where you want to be.
Now, aside from someone needing to be willing to change, what other requirements do you have before you're willing to accept someone into your program?
Well, the other requirement is that when somebody walks into our program, we interview them. And when we interview them, what we're doing, we are making an assessment.
Yes.
Assessment to know what kind of problem they have. Because not everybody that comes to us has the same problem. Some are addicted to cocaine and other things of that nature. So then you have got to deal with each problem with each person.
So you have to, in a sense, individually customize a program for each person, because each person comes in with a totally unique situation.
Yes, they do. So therefore, after we discover what their problem is, then we put them in a customized program that they need to go to every day in their life, some twice a week, to attend those classes so that they can find some help.
So after you interview them and make an assessment, is there any other requirement that you make of them?
Yes, the requirement is for them to be committed. To be committed to make sure they follow the instructions. Because there are some instructions that they need to follow, the rules.
So there's rules of conduct.
Rules of conduct.
And those are like ground rules that they have to accept in order to be accepted into your program.
Yes, they call them ground rules. I'm glad you put that word out.
Okay.
The ground rules, yes. They are
what's an example of a ground rule?
Ground rule is, if if your program started at 8,
Uh-huh.
you must be there at 8 o'clock.
You have to be on time.
On time.
Uh-huh.
If you come late at that program, then there are some consequences that go with that.
I see.
Because as part of rehabilitation, timing is important. Time is very important.
So you're in a sense, your whole structure is designed to allow them to be re-socialized into the wider society.
Yes.
So you've got to, in a sense, train and teach and educate for the very same principles that most of us live by in society, which is, for example, being on time for an appointment.
Right. Why? Because some of them, while they are there in the center, they find a job. So if they find a job, the first thing that the boss wants is they want somebody that will be on time.
Yeah.
So we let them know that time is very, very important.
Yeah.
For you to keep time, to be timely in everything that you do.
What are the rules of conduct?
Rules of conduct is there's no fighting. There's no cursing.
Now, when you say no fighting, do you mean in the center?
Both in the center and outside the center.
Okay.
Respect,
so in their lives in general, they have to renounce violence.
Renounce negative life. Everything that is negative. To try to begin to live like a normal person in the society.
I see.
Yes.
Okay. Any other important ground rules?
Another ground rule that I need is time work. Okay, we in our center Monday and Tuesday to Friday, they must be in before 10 o'clock.
There's a curfew.
Because we recognize that after 10 o'clock there's not much you can do outside.
Right. So
you should be at home. So
more opportunities for trouble.
That's right.
After 10 o'clock.
If not trouble with us, you are in trouble with the police department.
Exactly.
Yes, because there's some certain places you can't be going late at that time. There are some certain situations where...
So all of that structure really provides an environment for people to begin that process of re-socialization.
Yes, the environment for them to begin to function like a normal person.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, very clear. And you mentioned that belief in a higher power is important, and and helping them believe in themselves. How do you support someone who maybe has no more belief in themselves? In other words, they've lost all respect for themselves. How do you help them recover that? Being able to have the capacity to believe in themselves once again.
Yeah. Well, that's a very difficult question, but at the same time, that's one of the questions that we wrestle with.
Yes.
In our program, we talk about your old life. For instance, I'll make another example for you that is very simple.
Okay.
One of the classes, we said, okay, we want to bring some pictures with yourself. If you happen to have a picture of yourself when you were young and you were doing something very positive in life, we would like you to bring it up. Anything that reminds you about your past, your positive past.
Your positive past from your youth, in other words.
So they bring that up. Say, look at this picture. Is it you? Say, yeah, that's me. What were you doing? For instance, I have another guy that was doing a marvelous thing in life, making a lot of money, driving expensive cars.
Right.
Here's those pictures. He still pride himself for that he was doing that.
And that was, in a sense, his former life.
His former life. So we said, okay, you see that picture there? He says, yeah. What do you think about it? He says, well, I was doing so well in there. But then what happened? So we want them to see where they lost it. They lost that self-esteem.
Yes.
Because of something that happened in their lives. Because a lot of people that you find that are in the negative, that are in trouble, that are coming out of some bad situation or drugs, there was a time when they were doing all right.
Yes.
Until they entered that situation.
Something happened.
Yes. So you take them there sometimes and then come out with that and say, listen, you can have the same kind of way
of quality of life
that you lived here.
Yes.
But what you have to do, you must be willing to be, willing to say, I want to change from this life that I'm in now to a normal life that I used to live.
So for you, it has a lot about them discovering the will to have something to say about who they are.
That's right.
In other words, cause themselves a new image of themselves.
That's right.
And to be able to substantiate that as well.
A new image of themselves, a new perspective about themselves. That really, there was a time I was like this. I was feeling a little bit different than what I'm feeling now.
Yeah.
This thing caused me to be like this. That's why I have all the reason to get rid of this lifestyle and try to get something that is better.
And then you also offer them the assistance of a higher power.
Yes, and
which
then
they may or may not have had.
The high power, which is God Himself,
yes,
helping them. Now, you know that even some of them start going to church because we encourage that too.
Yeah.
That whatever church you choose to go to that church. That helps them with their program.
That in itself is a support system.
Support system that they
starting
need.
a new life.
Yes, yes. Some people have families. Then those who have families, we talk to the family. They say, well, we want to have him for a weekend with us. And he goes home. When they come back, we say, give us a report. We want first the input from him. And then we want an input from the relatives.
So you support that kind of
yes system,
family system,
since family support.
Yeah.
So that helps them a little bit even more exciting. Some of them have children, and then they meet with their children, and they feel so beautiful that, you know what, I haven't seen my children for a long time now. I can interact with them. I can enjoy seeing them. They are now grown. Some of them, they are grown.
Because they have a new image of themselves.
That's right. That's right. And they are no longer afraid of them. They feel that they are really coming along. And then, so that's how we support that, by adding what is outside of them, inside of their lives, from the society, so that they begin to experience the society on their own.
Wow, that's fascinating. Dr. Benson, you won't believe it, but we're out of time. Our half an hour is already up, so I want to thank you so much for sharing your insights and your experience and what works in this very important business of rehabilitation and resocialization, because I hope that people watching can learn from your secrets and what you've done that works with people, and find ways to apply it in different areas of our society, so that we can begin to really allow that kind of healing process to take place and really support people in starting new lives.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. God bless you.
Thank you.
You've been watching The Defining Moment for Creating the Culture of Conscience. You can find us on the internet at www.definingmoment.tv. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.